The 20th anniversary of The Ultimate Fighter, otherwise known as Season 33, has officially kicked off. This season will feature flyweights and welterweights featuring 16 fighters hailing from 10 different countries. And the two coaches, the two unks at the top of the bill on that poster, Daniel Cormier, former two-weight world champion in the UFC, former undefeated coach in The Ultimate Fighter when he beat Stipe Miocic on their season coaching against one another. And in the blue corner, quite literally because he's the blue team on the show, DC is yellow, Chael, Sonnen, who is a multi-time UFC title challenger at multiple weight classes, a UFC Hall of Famer for his fight with Anderson Silva, undefeated, never lost a round, and never lost a season as a coach on The Ultimate Fighter. Over the first 32 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, 16 fighters have gone on to become UFC champions. And now here with Season 33, 125 and 170 pounds, will we see number 17. So let's talk about the first episode of the season, the pilot episode, if you will. Let's break down some of the picks that happened for the teams, some of the drama that may have occurred, and the results from the first fight of the entire season. So, spoiler warning, results are ahead. Daniel Cormier won the coin toss and he elected to have the first pick overall rather than create the first fight. And not only did he get the first overall pick, he was able to get the first pick of both weight classes. For flyweight, it was Eduardo Henrique, and the first welterweight picked by Daniel Cormier was Rodrigo Cezinando. And the last pick of the entire 16 fighters belonged to Chael Sonnen. In the welterweight division, it was Andreas Bender. Can he be Mr. Irrelevant? And with DC getting the first pick of the draft and getting his selection of the fighters that he wanted first, Chael Sonnen got to create the first fight of the entire season, and it was in the flyweight division between his first flyweight pick, the second overall, if you will, and Joseph Morales, former 3-fight UFC veteran, and he went up to Chael Sonnen and said he wanted to fight Eduardo, the man that was chosen before him, and prove that Daniel Cormier made a mistake. Joseph Morales' 3-fight UFC stint was between August of 2017 and November of 2018. He won his first bout in the promotion with a first-round rear naked choke over Roberto Sanchez, but unfortunately for him, his second fight in the UFC would be against who would go on to become flyweight champion and flyweight great, Davison Figueiredo. He would get finished in that fight via TKO in round number 2, and in his third UFC fight, he would lose a split decision to Eric Shelton. That came back at UFC Fight Night Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez, and we all remember how that fight ended.
Body kick. One more flurry.
And since his 1 and 2 stint in the UFC, Joseph has only fought 3 times. However, all 3 of them are victories. August of 2021, so a near 3-year hiatus between his last UFC fight and his first fight back. Then he fought in March of 2022 and February of 2023. So by the time he fought again, his fight on The Ultimate Fighter Season 33 against Eduardo, it will have been 2 whole years outside of action. But the good thing for Joseph is that he got his UFC experience early because he is still just 30 years old. So right now, in those prime years, 12 and 2 overall with 8 of his 12 wins by way of finish. And for Eduardo Henrique, he is 29 years old, just 1 year younger than his opponent Joseph. He's 13 and 2 overall with 10 of his 13 wins by way of stoppage. And he enters The Ultimate Fighter Season 33 as the reigning LFA flyweight champion and on a 3-fight win streak, the last 2 by way of knockout. Then we got into the weigh-ins where Eduardo successfully made the 126-pound limit and Joseph Morales took the scale at 126.5, but before anyone could really process the information, he started flexing on the scale and his team started clapping and cheering for him, and DC says, no, wait a minute, what are you guys cheering for? Your man missed weight by half a pound. And that is when we saw the first bit of drama for the season take place as 2 welterweights, one from Team Cormier and one from Team Chael Sonnen, started to chirp at one another, even getting the magical flipping of the bird going back and forth.
You are a fake person.
Let's see.
You are a fake person.
90 days.
We'll see, man.
Ask for my name.
We'll see, you see, small guy. We'll see.
Make sure he's not touching
We'll
the curtain.
Let him fight.
And then we get to the action, the flyweight fight, the first fight of Season 33, DC versus Chael, and Joseph Morales proved why he should have been Daniel Cormier's first pick, and that is because he took out Eduardo, and he did it in the very first round via rear naked choke submission in the opening minutes of the bout. And he went absolutely nuts in the aftermath of this fight, yelling in the face of Eduardo, looking at DC and the rest of the team, and yelling the Brazilian chants right back at them that they were chanting at him during the weigh-ins.
Damn, intense.
This was some straight up savagery from Joseph Morales, proving to Daniel Cormier that he should have been the first overall pick. Uncle Chael was impressed that he called out Eduardo for his first fight, and it paid dividends. And honestly, this is a great way to start the show with a good amount of drama, nothing too forced. A very fun fight for as little as we got to see it, and a big time finish with amazing storylines in it. Joseph Morales, the UFC veteran, taking out the man that was chosen before him in Eduardo Henrique, who was coming into this with gold around his waist as the LFA champion. It is a great start to the season, and now we look ahead to episode 2, where we will see the first welterweight fight of the season. It will be between Daniil Danchenko representing Team Daniel Cormier and Richard Martins representing Team Sonnen. So that's it for the week 1 recap. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And do you want me to do this for every single episode of the season? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below, alongside with your interest levels for this season of The Ultimate Fighter, the 20th anniversary. Crazy to think that it's been 20 years since we saw that legendary fight that quite literally could have saved the UFC and where it is today between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar. So if you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as we continue to chase the goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers in 2025. Alongside what I hope to have as weekly Ultimate Fighter recaps, I also do monthly video series including the statistics behind all of the fights each month for the UFC, and weekly breakdowns and previews of the biggest fights and best storylines heading into the weekend, and in the aftermath of each card, I recap the most meaningful results, as well as give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can follow on your favorite audio listening platform where podcast episodes release every Monday and Friday on Spotify, Apple, and more. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next video.